Dear listener, this is the Winning Edge Talks podcast, and I'm Vishwanath, your host. I'm a sports mental conditioning coach, counselor, author, blogger, and podcaster. Kapil, Pooh'S pressure. This is the topic of this episode. Dear listeners, do you remember how you felt the first time you gave a speech or gave a presentation before the board of members? Or how you felt just before your final job interview? Or your first finals of a tournament? Did you sweat in your palms and your face? Did you get butterflies in the stomach? Was your heart racing and your breathing fast and shallow? Was your mouth dry and your body tight and heavy? Were you confused? Do not worry or belittle yourself for that. It has happened to many people before it happened to you. You were under pressure because the event was important to you and you were desperate to do well and didn't want to lose it at any cost. Pressure is also experienced in normal daily life while trying to achieve targets, sticking to deadlines, appointments, commitments, going on a date, being on time for an exam, etc. An uncompromising superior at the workplace or a nagging mother-in-law at home can be a source of pressure. Children also experience pressure in the student life as the need to be exceptionally good in academics is increasing every day. Pressure can be felt in the presence of highly demanding, critical, and principled elders and other authoritative figures who find more reasons to criticize than appreciate. The life of the modern day man is riddled with stress for the reasons well known to you. Everyone from the very old to the young are under stress. This made Hans Selye, an endocrinologist and the father of stress theory, to say, stress is the salt of life. Feelings of anxiety, fear, worry, nervousness, and pressure are all indications of stress. Stress is a way of life. Now, coming to sports. Sports is one of the activities where pressure is at the highest. There is no escape from pressure. An athlete has to learn to live with it. And performing well under pressure is what competitive sports is all about. In sports, it is normal to feel pressure and anxiety before the competition, and it should go away once the game begins. If it doesn't, then you are in trouble. This episode, dear listener, is about comparing the bygone and the present cricketing eras and what are the challenges and pressures a modern day cricketer goes through. Recently, a controversy erupted in the sporting circles after Kapil made some insensitive remarks on a public forum. Kapil, the giant of the 80s and the 90s, is a cricketer par excellence. He was the heartthrob of many in his heydays. He was an all-rounder and the captain of the 1983 World Cup winning team. He was a sporting icon who inspired the youth to take up cricket. It is a known fact that cricket in India prospered after this famous World Cup victory. Kapil Dev, in a recent Chat with the Champions show, in which ace badminton player Saina Nehwal was also present, when asked about pressure, he remarked, "I hear a lot on TV these days. There is lot of pressure, there is pressure when we play IPL. Then I only say one thing, don't play, He continued to say, "What is pressure? If a player has passion, then there will be no pressure." I can't understand these American words like pressure and depression. I had a passion to play, and that's the difference. I'm a farmer and I come from there. We play to enjoy, and there can't be any pressure in enjoyment. He added, "Pressure is a wrong word. Change pressure to pleasure and fun. When you are in love, there is no pressure, and when you are loving your game, then there can't be any pressure." Kapil Dev's comments received huge applause from the people in the auditorium, and they loved it. But outside on the social media, Kapil's comments created a storm. He's being criticized for making light of the pressure and challenges every modern day athlete faces. He has received flack for not empathizing enough on the real mental health issues. People say he should have told the world how he dealt with pressure and expectations instead of dismissing the existence of pressure. Before we pass our judgments on him, let's understand the man behind the words. If I remember, Kapil was a picture of raw style and ruggedness with an agrarian background, as he himself admits. He looked tough. That's why he was picked for the Palmolive ad. Moving his hand through his tough beard, he would say, "Palmolive ka jawab nahi." He was natural in his expression and in his game, and he spoke straight from the heart. He was bold and fearless as a cricketer. He had a free-flowing, uninhibited style in everything he did. Though most Indian players themselves didn't believe they could win that 83 World Cup, he was the one who instilled belief in them that they could win the World Cup. He led from the front. Who can forget that 174 he hit when the team was in dire straits? I was a huge fan of Kapil Dev those days. I loved the way he bowled his outswingers and his swashbuckling style of batting. But I beg to differ with him on his views on pressure. I'm sure he too must have had dreams and aspirations of making it big as a budding cricketer, and it could not have happened overnight. He worked his way up the ladder to become one of the world's best all-rounders. As he climbed up the ladder, I'm sure he would have had his own expectations which he had to fulfill along the way to reach the highest echelon in world cricket. He must have faced several challenges and put pressure on himself to fulfill his expectations without even knowing it. Perhaps he may have devised his own method of handling pressure and anxiety. He played in the 80s and 90s and must have forgotten what he went through. In the 80s and 90s, the amount of international cricket played was 1/10 of what it is being played today. Those days, 2 or 3 series of test cricket in a year and a few one-day internationals combined with it was all that they played. International tournaments those days were few and far between. Most cricketers back then had secure jobs. They were employed in banks, central government and corporate establishments. They were not true professional cricketers in the real sense. They didn't seek sponsors, nor reputed commercial brands came after them for paid advertisements, barring a few. Today, they are full-time professionals except a few who are on the payrolls. The life of a modern-day cricketer is entirely different. He is 12 months on the road, living out of suitcases, and hardly able to spend quality time with his loved ones. During the COVID-19 times, it was even worse as they could not meet their family members. They were confined to the bio bubble and 24/7 they were inside their hotel rooms and were not even allowed to mingle with their teammates except for practice sessions and team meetings. Today, cricketers are faced with tremendous performance pressure. They fear failure. They have chosen cricket for their career and if they don't perform, they can lose their place permanently and this makes them insecure. They may not have an alternate career and a part B option on which they can lean on in case of not being successful in cricket. This is a pressure that's constantly at the back of their minds. Poor performance means that they can lose sponsorships, commercials, and contracts. With many players vying to take their place, the fear of losing their place is always lurking, like a Damascus sword hanging on the top of their heads. They play in franchisee leagues all over the world. They are signed for lucrative sums of money. So there is a lot of pressure coming from the self and the franchises to perform. The players may be going through several issues that are unconnected to their sport. These may cause mental health issues which they need to take care of. There is a constant threat of injuries and burnout due to overdose of cricket. They are always under public scrutiny due to the easy public access to internet and social media. A lot of trolling takes place in case of failure to meet expectations. Remember how Arshdeep Singh, the talented Indian fast bowler, was trolled after he dropped a catch in the recent Asia Cup. Just to remind you, of late, many elite athletes, including cricketers, have come out and expressed their battle with mental health issues. I can remember some big names who have come out and expressed their concerns with mental health. Marcus Tescotic, Monty Panesar, Michael Phelps, Ian Thorpe, Virat Kohli, Naomi Osaka, Ben Stokes, and the great Simon Biles. No doubt the modern day athletes are passionate about their sport and enjoy their game. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out there playing. But the pressure and expectations are overbearing at times, as it takes a toll on their mental health. So, challenges with pressure, expectations, and issues related to mental health are real and simply cannot be brushed under the carpet as something irrelevant. I spoke to a few experts on this issue, and this is what they had to say. Mr. Kalyan Ashok has worked as a senior sports reporter for many decades. He used to be the head of sports bureau, the Hindu Bangalore division. This is what he had to say.
I think Kapil is quite off the mark with his comments because the modern sports is totally different from the era that he has played. Okay, earlier, what else was happening? Let's take cricket only. Okay. See, in cricket at the time, there is only a test series, maybe one day yes, on and off. And the time gap between one tournament and another was pretty lengthy also. Okay. Suppose India tours Australia. And Australia will tour back India only after a few years, not immediately. But and also there was no IPL and other competitions. The focus more was on domestic cricket and off. Apart from that, some international series. So when Kapil says that he enjoyed the game and all that thing, well and good, because he had a time to relax, he had a time to sort of think it over and prepare for the next event. But the present setup is totally different. Like see, in a year, say for 365 days, our cricketers are on tour, are playing one tournament or other, bilateral series, international series, and also add to that we have T20 cricket, we have the one dayers and Champions Trophy, and besides that, quite a lot of other commitments they have at home and abroad. So it's in a year, say, they play nearly about 250 days of cricket, maybe even to the extent of 300 days also. So the pressure on the players is very much there. And also, given the advent of IPL and all that thing, there is a lot of cash flowing into the game, and players really get rich very quickly with the performance. So they have to focus more on their performance to stay in the team, to be counted among the 11 in the team. And even if they one couple of they failure, their place can be taken by others. Remember, so many people are waiting in the line to grab their place. So the mental pressure is always there for the players. And also add to that the lucrative sponsors deal. See, the cricket, it's not about being in the team and playing international series and other events, but it also counts as the sponsorship that comes as a bonus. A performer who does really well, say like Virat Kohli or even MS Dhoni was, they were a big draw for the sponsors. They made more money with lucrative sponsorship deals, which is not available to players like Kapil in those days. So the pressure is very much there, and you cannot deny it. See, modern game has given players a lot of openings, a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities, but at the same time have given them a lot of pressure. So a player has to be not only technically very good, he also has to be mentally strong to perform and keep performing well consistently. So that will be the key for success, And also you can see that, the lifespan of modern cricketers is very limited, given the pressure of playing so many events, and also there are chances of injuries. And when you are injured, and to get back into the game and perform to your potential becomes a very tough task. So that also adds to the pressure. So it is not proper to compare what cricketers did earlier and now. So the game has changed so much, and the players have evolved very much, and they are adapting. The players are adapting to the new circumstances in an admirable way. The change in the sports. This is not only relevant to cricket, to other sports as well, because you got so many opportunities and events coming up their way, and they have to keep doing their best as long as they can, and as long as their body can withstand the pressure, both physically as well as mentally.
I spoke to Mr. Gopal Ramaswamy, a cricket coach who has cleared many levels of cricket coaching. Besides, he is also into sports marketing and sports management. He is the proud father of Shreyas Gopal, a List A cricketer who represents Karnataka in BCCI tournaments. Shreyas has represented many teams in the IPL. His notable stint has been with the Rajasthan Royals. The question to him was regarding the challenges and pressure a modern-day cricketer goes through. This is what he said.
Hello, Mr. Gopal Ramaswamy, sir. It's really nice talking to you.
On that
Thank you.
outset,
Thank
let
you.
me wish
Same
you
here.
happy Diwali.
Same to you and your family.
Yes, sir.
Wish you all the
Thank you very much.
best and prosperity.
Sir, how is Shreyas? How is he doing?
Oh, he's doing fine. He's just come back from the side Mushtaq Ali,
Yes.
pre-qualifiers, and he is pretty happy that Karnataka is qualified for the
Yes.
quarterfinals.
Yes, sir.
They've played well.
Yeah.
So he's taking a couple of days break before he
Yeah.
moves back from the quarterfinals to Calcutta.
Calcutta. Oh, very nice. Let's wish Karnataka wins the Musakale Trophy this year.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir, I know very well that you do have plenty of work in the sports area. You are a qualified cricket coach. You also do a lot of marketing, sports management, the kind of thing. And you are the proud father of illustrious cricketer who has played elite Class A, List A for India, and he is represented Rajasthan Royals and many other teams in the IPL. I'm really congratulations to you and your son. Please convey my best wishes and congratulations to him also.
Surely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sir,
God's
the
been
reason
great.
I called you was that
Yes.
I'm just doing a episode for my podcast, and I want to know from you what are the pressures and pains and the challenges a modern day cricketer goes through. I'm asking you this question, not your son, because you as a parent would have groomed him from childhood, and you know what is going on in his life. And I know, even I was a sports parent once, and I know
Right.
the kind of pain we parents also take up. So you would have empathized, you have seen from him as in both ways. So can I know from you, sir, what a modern day cricketer goes through?
As a parent, it's not only me. I'm sure millions of parents go through the same thing, irrespective of the level the kids are playing, the boy or the girl. Even coming back to your question about the challenges a modern day cricketer goes through, and the environment around him. Number one, there's a lot of competition today. Okay.
Yes.
There is hell of a lot of competition today. The numbers have actually, in cricket, when I recently did a study, the number of people taking up to the game at junior level has gone tenfold from what it was 15 years ago. So if there were a lakh or a lakh and a half of, boys playing or girls playing the sport 20 years ago, it's 10 years ago, in fact, not even 20. It's about 20 lakhs today. So that's the exponential growth in terms of, the number of people taking up. So obviously there's competition. Skill comes into the picture. Everybody is working hard. I can tell you one thing. Every cricketer who makes it or doesn't make it works equally hard. The part of the cake is only taken by a few, and why is that? That's the question. Everybody works hard. There is a saying that the harder you work, the luckier you get. Hard work can never fail.
Yes.
Talent. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work. These are So these are absolutely great quotes that come from various experts, but. In order to make it to any sport, first and foremost, you have to have a solid foundation. And you have to build on that foundation. You've got to have that X factor. Now, today's cricketers handle more pressure, more expectations than the cricketers of the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s. I was asking a huge legend of Karnataka recently. Those days, there were more engineers, more graduates who academically oriented cricketers who still played for India. Like Anil Kumble is a great example. Javagal Srinath, Rahul Dravid.
Venkat Raghavan also, I heard he's an engineer.
Krishnamachari was.
Yeah, he too was an engineer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was asking one of the legends, how did you manage? He said, Gopal, we didn't play a tenth of the cricket that's played today. That is, we played 10% of the cricket those days that is being played today. So that's the first big change. Okay. I mean, today, those days it was just league cricket and then straight away into first-class cricket and then test cricket. Today you have a barrage of tournaments, more opportunities for boys. Yeah. So you play a number of tournaments today, much more than you used to play those days, and then get in. So there is pressure at every stage. You've got to play 15 tournaments to actually qualify to play for Karnataka. You understand? And you have to perform at every tournament, at every stage. So there is going to be some kind of mental and physical burnout because the number of games you're playing today, a first-class cricketer or an aspiring first-class cricketer plays about 20 games a month today. Those days they used to play 2 games a month, 3 games a month at most, you see. You're going to be more injury prone. So that's one thing. See, now there are 2 things. One is the external and one is the internal. If you have a problem with a game, technically it is visible to the naked eye. You can correct it because you have video cameras, you have the naked eye and stuff like that. Now, what about a person who's going through none of these technical problems but has a mental issue? Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to videograph his brain and say what you're going through, right? So what you need to do is today's sports psychologists are more necessary than ever before. Now, what are the reasons? What are the triggers of this pressure? A modern day cricketer's pressure is, number 1, fear of failure. Number 2, competition. Number 3, wear and tear. Number 4 is mental health. Number 5, he's got to be fit for every single game. So there are a lot of stress. And 6 is emotions. Emotions play a very huge role in actually getting a player to perform.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are misled by the fact that pressure is only related to the game. No, there can be external pressure.
External pressure.
What if a child his parents are going through trauma? Okay. What if he has had a very bad experience with a friend? What if he has a very serious injury that is to go from? All these factors actually lead to a lot of strain on the mind.
Yes, sorry to interrupt this, and also about the insecurity of the future, the worry of future worries. Yeah,
absolutely with it. And that's the end of your career.
Yes.
So really, I take my hats off to boys who've been in the system for the last 8-10 years, come through various stages from under 13 to IPL to India, and still held on. Not lost hope, still held on, performed. Because if he hadn't performed, he would be nowhere today. Those days you could put 10 chances because the pool of talent was very limited in the 80s and the 90s. Today you have a large pool of talent. If you fail 1 or 2 or 3 games, they are like breathing down your neck. So that pressure, like you said, of holding on to your play.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys who held on for 8 to 10 years are really champions. They've gone through all of this, all the kind of pressures and emotions and everything else, but they have come out successful. As I said, external emotion is what if close one of the players is unwell, or there's trauma in his family between his father and mother, or there is trauma in his personal life. There's so much to manage apart from looking at that next ball which is going to be hurled at you, or the next ball that you're going to be bowling to somebody. So all this is managed in that small brain of his, and he needs to find ways and means. He needs to reach out to people. He needs to talk to sports psychologists. So the pressure between the 80s and today is huge. I mean, people can argue that, don't you think quality of cricket was better those days and things like that. I'm not going to get into that debate because the challenges were entirely different those days. The challenges that are offered to you are totally different in today's world. Yes. But pressure is an integral part of a sportsman, and he has to find ways and means of dealing with it. I would not agree with anybody who says there is no pressure or there is no stress or anything like that. No, every sportsman, right from under 15 level to the national level, goes through pressure in different forms, in different levels.
Yes, sir. So one question. Your son who has played at the highest level, I bet he is passionate about the game. He definitely enjoys the game. If you don't enjoy the game, you don't feel like getting out tomorrow and train and then perform. And
Correct.
definitely,
Correct.
if he's not enjoying, he doesn't feel like competing. Definitely, he has both. But still, I bet, from what you have seen him from close quarters, I know he is also going through a lot of pressures. And I don't know what you have to say about it and how does he manage it? Briefly, sir.
Yeah, so number one is we don't dwell on any negativity as far as my son is concerned. We don't ask him any negative questions on.
Yeah.
So we don't dwell on any negativity. We don't ask him embarrassing questions. We don't ask him anything negative. We just ask him, how did the game go? Did you enjoy it? And that's it. So he is a seasoned campaigner.
Sir, thank you for coming out with your views. You were so explicit, so you were so eloquent, and thank you for giving your time. Thank you very much. Divyang Bharatiya played junior level cricket in Karnataka. He is now an entrepreneur. He has built Bangalore's first rooftop arena called Sportingo. He is working on a next-gen fantasy cricket app called Power Cricket. When spoken about the issue pertaining to this episode, he said this.
Hi, good morning to everybody here. My name is Divyang, and I want to leave my views on the recent remarks made by Kapil Dev about pressure to cricketers, to modern cricketers, as well as pressure to modern day students, high school students. So beginning with the cricketers and what he says, how can you have pressure? You should just enjoy the game and those sort of things. During his times, he never felt the pressure and he used to enjoy it. I think fundamentally the difference over the last 30-40 years from the time he was playing cricket to now is that during his days, there was a lack of media. There was a lack of connection between the players and the fans, and there was a massive gap between information, right? Like probably you did not know what your counterparts in the other parts of the world or in the other teams on different lands are doing, right? There was no instant information. And switch forward to today, because of the rise of social media, you instantly know what's happening around the cricketing world. You know who's scoring what, who's taking how many wickets, who's working out more in the gym, who's running faster, who's achieving whatever, right? And that for a modern day player, that competition does come in, and obviously it's human to feel the sort of comparison and pressure and pressure to perform and outbeat your competitors, which I think during his time that wasn't there, and also additionally because of the lack of media, probably radio was the primary source of information and connection between the fans and the players, and followed by TV during his ending days. Both these were, one-way streams wherein fans could never express how they feel about the cricketers and their performance. And fast forward to today's world, fans can comment, fans can like, fans can dislike, they can disapprove. So obviously, keeping all these things in mind for any player, right, it becomes very challenging to be pleasing all the time, and obviously, there are not all days which are gold. There are days which are bad days for a player, and how to handle the days of failure is a challenge in itself, which was not that easily or that it wasn't that big a thing back then, but it is now. And second is again the frequency of cricket that's happening. Obviously, with more cricket that's being played, there are more chances of failure, and that's what even modern day players have to face today, because there is back-to-back cricket, non-stop cricket that keeps taking place. Again, back in the days, there was hardly any cricket taking place. After one series, there would be at least a 15-20 day gap before the next series begins. So again, all these factors put together do make a massive difference. The second thing that he mentioned about school students and their pressure, I think pretty much similar lines. Back in his days, on an average, hardly people would study. There would be, I think, 2 out of 10 who would choose to study and even pass high school. And fast forward to today, it's I think 9 out of 10 who choose to pass out of high school. And second is again the rise of social media, where you are on a constant glitch to compare your life with that of your counterpart. And obviously on social media, everybody tries to display only their achievements, only their victories, only their happiness. And they always cover up their sadness or their failures. And these kind of comparative practices, these kind of show-off practices do bring in comparison. And that comparison leads almost everybody to anxiety, depression. These are real modern day challenges, and I would say not just from the student point of view or from cricketer point of view, but from general day-to-day life of any person, right? People do face anxiety, they do face depression. We are in the era of abundance where we have everything. Even then, we do face a lot of anxiety because of I would say primarily because of social media, and just because how interconnected all our lives are on a very wholesome basis, where you're not let lonely to do what you want to do, and then you only when you excel is when the world gets to know about it. No, I think we are all under constant monitoring and watch by our counterparts, by our peers, by our friends and family. So there will be a different sort of a mindset that we all wake up to every single morning, and I think that needs to be addressed by all of us collectively. Yeah. Thank you. This is all that I could say in my view. Thank you.
Dear listener, this is all I have for you in this episode. Thanks for listening. Sports persons wanting to have consultations with me on sports counseling and sports mental performance improvement can call on me in this number 861-899-6575 or reach out to me on email at viswanath.author@gmail.com.